Hello everyone. Welcome to IT Crowd Pack Talks, and today is very interesting topic that we are going to cover, that is loops in Python. You do any programming language, if you want to do it in a crisp manner, you should always know how to write a loop. There are two types of loops in Python, that is for loop and while loop. Now first, uh, going through these loops, first we will go step by step by answering these questions. What are loops? Loops are nothing but the programming construct that allows you to execute back code, block of code repetitively until and unless specified condition is met, or until and unless all items in the sequence have been processed. So we need to understand why we are saying specific condition is because until and unless this condition is not executed, the loop will not break. Or until and unless there are some iterables which give you a sequence, and until and unless that sequence is not completed, the loop keeps on executing. So why do we need loops? Just a example, if I want to print welcome to Python for 5 to 10 times, so I'll just say print, and I'll say welcome to Python. It will only print once. So imagine a condition where I want to print this particular statement 50 times. What will happen? So for 5 times, I'll have to copy this code and I'll have to give 5 print statements so that it will print 5 times. However, this is not an optimal code, right? So what we need to do is we need to find a shorter way to do that. And there is a shorter way. For example, if I say for I in range 5 or 6, print welcome to Python. Oh, so I missed indentation here. Now you can see it printed 6 times. So if you want 5 times, you can just write 5 times. Or if you want n times, you can just define n equal to integer input, enter a number, and you can just give the range as n. And you can see the magic. I missed a parenthesis. Okay, now if I give 10, it will print 10 times. If I give 5, it will print 5 times. So that is how you can use loops. So to avoid this kind of issue, we have introduced loops in the Python. Now, what exactly loop will help you? Repeat task automatically. You don't have to do it again and again. It will repeat your task automatically. Reduces code duplication. Means you don't have to write same code again and again. Process collection of data. It will help you to collect the data. Perform calculation effectively. Save development time. And also write clearer construct and readable code. So that is why loops are pretty much important. So what are the different types of loop that we have in Python? We have in Python, there are two kinds of loop. That is, one is for loop and one is while loop. For loop I have just shown you. However, I can just give you some additional examples. Say I want to print numbers. So what I'll do, for I in range, say n, print I, and here I can just define input a number. Now if you see 5, you can just print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now if I want to print squares, you can just write I into I. Here if I write 5, you can just see 0, 1, 4, 9, 16. You can also write I to the power 2. This double asterisk is power operator. So that is how you can print squares. Iterate over string. Say if I am defining a string as text equal to, say python, and if I say for I in test, print I. And if I execute this, see all the l- characters of the string that I have given has been printed. Now imagine if you have given input string here as enter the string. Now if I am saying say MUMB Mumbai, see Mumbai gets printed. If I will say Auckland, Auckland will get printed. So that's how you can use it for string. Iterate over list. Suppose I am defining a list L equal to say sample list I can get 5, 4.56, 3. I'll add one tuple here 3, 3.3, comma 5, comma 3.56, comma true true. Then I can add some boolean value as false false. Then I can add some text as test text, etc. And I'll say for I want all the elements to be separated. For I in L, print I. Now you can see all the elements are extracted from the list. And even if you want to append them into some other list, that also you can do. L1 is equal to, say you define an empty list and you can just say L1 dot, you can use the method append I and you can print L1. See, all the elements of list 1 given separately. Along with that, you have also appended those it items in L1 as well. So that way also you can use. Then again, iterate over dictionary, that is also you can do. So say I am defining a dictionary as D equals to sample dictionary, say my name is, I can say Prakash and I come from say city as Mumbai and I can also add phone number as say 78956 so and so forth. And this dictionary is now I have defined. So I just want keys to be extracted from this dictionary. So I can just say for I in for key in D dot keys print key. Now if you can see I'm saying key. This is what keys are, right? So even I can say I also for I in keys print key. For I in key print I. So if you can say this whatever you are writing in front of for should be used in print statement. In that way you can extract those keys. So here if you see for I in key d dot keys print I am extracting name, city and phone number. So that is how you can do for the dictionary as well. Now let's understand the second statement, that is while loop. So for you have understood, for variable in iterable you have to write the statement. For while loop syntax is while condition whether it is true or false you will execute this particular statement. So let's understand, there are it with few examples. I have first is print number, right? So what I'll do, I'll just initiate a int, sorry, n equals to int input enter number while n is greater than 0 print n, and you also give n equals to n minus 1, so that the loop should break. If you don't give this and you are entering some number over here, then it will keep on repeating that number infinitely, because if you are entering a positive number, it will always be greater than 0, and you are not negating or reducing it by 1, so then it becomes an infinite loop. So if I am saying 5, if you can see 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, once it reaches 1, it will be uh, 1 minus 1 equals to 0, so the loop will break. That is how you can print the number. In the same way, you can also add a countdown. Say, I'll just define a countdown variable equals to int input enter higher bound countdown, and I can just say while countdown is greater than 0, print countdown countdown equals to countdown minus 1, and I can just say I want to give a countdown of 5. I can just check and I can reduce the count by 1, and I can print the countdown. In the same way, I can also use it for password check. This is one of the example, that is password check. So say password equals to, I'm writing test at the rate 123, and I'll say while pass the w or password is not equal to, need to give it as text, 3, print password access granted. So it will print wrong password. Password equal to input and enter password again, and again access granted, and I'll use break statement. So I am just adding KIT kite. Now if you see, kite is wrong password. It is asking me to enter password again. So I'll add admin admin123. Now it is access granted and the loop got break. So that is how you can use it for password check. So for loop termination, it should be done appropriately. Otherwise, we might end up into indefinite loops. Where are the loops used? Loops are used almost everywhere in the programming. I have just told you few examples, but just to understand where they can be used is reading the data, that is iterating through the data, processing files, that is if you have a folder with many files, you can use loops to get into that file and again do some operation and then get out of the file and again get into some other file. Uh, in various examples of processing of the bank statement, you might want to extract some bank files or statement into single PDF formats. That also you can do through the various looping operations. Password validation, I have already shown it to you. Menu driven programs, then again games, that is where you can use loops. Flow of a loop is very simple. Loop will start, it will check the condition, go to the next item. If the condition is true, it will execute the statement or it will start repeating the checking of the condition again and again. Once it becomes false, it will exit the loop. Now we need to understand what are the differences between for loop and while loop. Now if you see, for loop is generally used to iterate over the sequence, whereas while loop, it will be used to repeating while a condition is true. Number of iterations are usually known, and for while loop it is usually unknown. Reason is while loop may end up into indefinite loop. If the condition that is specified in the while loop, it will never be executed. Then it will end up into infinite loop. Then condition is automatically handled, and for while loop it must be manually handled. Risk of infinite loop for loop is very low, whereas for while loop it is very high if the condition never becomes false. So infinite loop, as I already told you, I will just give you an example. Here, if I execute this particular statement and if I enter a positive number, and I am saying while n is greater than 0, print n. So the value of n will never change. So n will always be greater than 0. So it will keep on printing n again and again and again and again. So this will end up in infinite loop. That's why we should not we should avoid these kind of statements. Now we can go through the nested loops. So you can have a loop inside a loop. For example, if I want to use for loop for I in range, say 2, for j in range, say 5, print j, and here I can also give print I. Now you can see what will happen. So first I is 0, it will go, it will print 0, and again it will go in j. First j is 0, it will print 0. Then I becomes 1, so it will go and it will print 1. Sorry, then it will in j, once it goes into j, for every zero, every iteration of I, the j iteration will run for 5 times. That is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 is 5, 5. End index is excluded. And again it will go to I loop, that is I is equal to 1, and then it will run again for 4, and again it will go to I, but end index, since it is excluded, it has run for 2 times. Now if I say 3, then it is running for so many times. So I can also give here I comma j, see how it will print. So for every 0 there is 1 j, for every 1 there is 1 j, for every 2 there is 1 j. So that is how you can check. And if you use ends with equal to, then you can see all the iteration of j are in single line. So this way you can also use these statements for pattern printing. Now let's understand what exactly we are meaning by we intend to mean by pattern printing. So suppose I want to print star. So what I'll do, for I in range say 5, print say star. Now you can see I have printed star 5 times. Again I'll say for j in range I minus 1, print say star, comma, ends with this. Now if you see, this is how it gets printed. Now if you can see, this is how it prints. So if you say I plus 1, now you can see I have printed this way. If I say I plus 2, you can see 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these last two will be similar. So that is how you can print pattern as well. Now there are various ways in which you want to print the patterns. You can check at your end. You can print different patterns like rectangle triangle, or you can print isosceles triangle, or you can also print reverse triangle. So all that stuff you can do through nested loops. Now we will go and understand what are loop control statements. So there are three loop control statements. One is break, then one is continue, and one is pass. Now we will first see what is the break statement. So anywhere in the loop, so suppose if I say for I in range, say 0 or 10, print I, and if I say break if I equals to 5. If I equals to 5, I will say break. Now if I execute this, if I execute this particular statement, if I execute this particular statement, you can see, although I have given range of 10, the loop stopped executing itself at 5. That is how it works. I can also give continue, say for I in range 10, print I if I equals to say 8, continue. Now if you see what happens, I will print 0, 1, 2, 3, and after 3 it finds continue as a statement and it will print from 4 to 9. So that is how continue works. This can also be used to find the odd numbers. I'll just give you an example of odd numbers. For I in range, say 10, print I if I modulo 2 equal to 0, continue print I. So this print I will just remove, and if you see, okay, this I have to comment. Now you can see I am just extracting odd number from 100 without any issue. This can be possible with the loop so easily. If I am doing it for 10, I am doing it for 105, I can do it for 105 as well. If I am doing it for say 20 numbers, I can do it for 20 numbers as well so easily. So that is how continue can be used. And there is one more statement, that is pass. So I'll say for I in range, say 10, I'll say print I if I equals to say 5, I will say pass. So here what will happen? It will print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and once I equals to 5, it will say pass, then it will skip this iteration and it will continue with 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is how it is doing the operation. Since I have given print I prior, so it is printing 5 also. But if I give print I here after pass, then you can see what happens. So it is only printing when I am reaching 5. So print I will give here, then it will print all the things. That is how we can use pass statement. So pass will only act as a placeholder and it doesn't do anything. Now we can just check how we can use else with for loop. Say if I'm saying for I in range 10, print if I equals I modulo 2 equals to 0, print I, else I'll say continue, and this else should come here and this continue should come here. So if you see in range 10, whenever I am getting even number, I am getting print statement executed, whereas whenever I'm getting odd number, I am just continuing with the further loop. That is how you can use else with for loop. And you can also use else with while loop. So if I am defining n equals to integer of input, say I'm saying enter the number as n while n is greater than 0, if n modulo 2 equal to 0, print n n equals to n minus 1, else continue. So now if you see what I have written, as long as my n is greater than 0, I am checking whether it is odd or even and I am printing the n number. So if I am giving 10, now you can see, now this ran into infinite loop. Saying 2, so I have given break, so the loop is getting broken. So if I say here, if I define an empty list and if I say instead of print n, if I give l dot append n, append n and n equals to n minus 1, else continue. Now let's see what happens. It is again running into infinite loop. So that's why you should always be very much sure. If I say pass, then what will happen? Let's check. Again, it is running into an infinite loop. So n modulo 2 equal to 0 if this condition gets true, and if I'm giving n, then L dot append n. So this got appended n equal to n minus 1. So it becomes 9. So if I don't give this, and if I say 10, still it is running into infinite loop. Not sure why. Okay, I'll get back to you on this. So that's why we should avoid this kind of statements where you run into infinite loops. I'll have to debug the code why it is running into infinite loop. So while else you can also use, say this is the code I am saying, uh, I equals to 1, count equal to int input. So I am giving I as 1, count equal to input, while I into I minus 1 and count is greater than 0, print I. That means what I am doing is I into I minus 1. If it count is greater than 0, I am printing I plus equal to 1 and count equal to count minus 1, and else loop completed, right? So I'll just give appropriate indentation here and here, and I'll just execute this, and I give God knows what's happening, why I'm missing these things. Okay, so if you see, I have given 5 as my input, that is 5 count, and I have given I as 1. So what is happening is I got into a loop, I into I minus 1. Okay, so 1 into 1 minus 1, while I into I minus 1 is 1 into 1 minus 1, that is 0. Count is greater than 0, yes, it is greater than print I, that is I am printing 1. Again I am incrementing it by 1, count is equal to count minus 1. So final output is 5. That is how it is getting executed. Now just understand nested loops. So there can be nested loops as well. Means one loop inside another loop. So this we have already seen in terms of when we were printing the patterns. We can also use for things like different things like for I in range say 0 comma 11, for j in range say 0 comma 11, print I into j. So I just quickly check. So this is how it gets printed, comma, and ends with equals to. Now you see, for 0 it is printing 11 times 0. Instead of 11 I'll just take 2. So that is how you can use the nested loops. So if I want to create a multiplication table here for I in range 1 to 4, say for I in range 1 to 4, for j in range 1 to 10, range 1 to say 10, 11, print I into j and ends with so and so. Print I into j ends with so and then give empty print. Now you can see 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6, so and so, so and so, so and so. Here it is come. So if you can give additional space here, now you can see this is how the table is 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 6. So if you give 11 here, 11 here, you can check 1 to 10, 2 to 20, 3 to 30, 4 to 40, 5 to 50, 6 to 60. That is how the entire table is there. You can also give till 30 you can add. Now you can see that is how you have created table till 31. That is very simple using nested loops. Pattern programming, I have already told you how we can use the pattern programming. So just for a small example, what I am going to do is I just create one pattern here for I in range say 10 and for j in range say I plus 1. I'm just printing. I'll just tweak a little thing. I'll just add one space and I'll add asterisk, comma, end equal to colon colon. And if I remove this, then it will be like this. And if I give empty print here, then it will be like this. And I can just say, comma, end equals to, give space. So it will be like a right angle triangle. And in the same way, if you can see here, it was small right angle triangle. Instead of this, if I am giving additional space here and I'll remove this space, then this is how it will happen. If I say I minus 1, it will reduce one count. Now you can see what I have done. I have just added one space. I have multiplied by j and again I gave here a additional space. Now you can see this is how pattern can change. Now every time it is adding one space here. If I remove that, it will again change. If I remove this space else also, this thing will change. So you can do various types of pattern printing over here. Now there are some few examples. You can find average marks of a student. This can be your homework as well. What you can do is you can just define a list with student marks and you can iterate through that list and find the total by using by adding total for with every numbers. And again you can find the average by total divided by length of the list. Then shopping cart, find the matching product. You can define a list with multiple elements in the shopping cart and you can use for loop to iterate through the entire shopping cart and you can match the list. Count vowels, you can also define a string and you can use for loop, while loop or for loop for finding out the vowels. You can just say if following A, E, I, O, U are the vowels, if any character is matching with these five vowels, then it should be counted as 1. So count you can define as 0 and whenever there is a match found, that time you increase the count by 1. So that is how you can do it. So here I have just provided you with the sample programming. Text is equal to programming, count equal to 0. For letter in text, for letter in text, if letter dot lower in A, E, I, O, U, I am saying if this is a membership operator that I am using, if this particular letter is in this particular text, count should be increased by 1. So that is how you can do it. And then you can print the number of vowel count. Factorial also you can find. Reversing of the string also you can do. There are various ways you can do it. First is you give the input as text, then you can create a list of that particular text, and again then you can just reverse the list as per your convenience. You can just again concatenate the text. That is how you can get the reverse string. Factorial you can find and find the largest number of the list. So you can just start with the first number by defining the largest number is equal to first index number, and again start comparing with all the numbers, and maybe you can find the largest number as well. So that is how you can use loops in Python. Maybe this you can solve at your own ease, and we can just continue with the next topic. Next topic, what I was thinking, let's have some small mini project that I will do, and I will explain it to you how the projects can be done, so that you can have an understanding of the uh, way these concepts which I have taught through in last 9 lectures can be utilized to have a small projects as well. Thank you.